This is my second video. I'm not a virgin anymore. Let's go.
Kamala Harris takes the lead.
There's a lot of people out there that are feeling very down and very sad and highly concerned about what the future holds. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not one of those people.
Go do the lobbying thing, whatever it is, but do not run as governor of California. Do not.
So look, here's the thing that they still won't say that is definitely true, which is that she was a disaster. She was a terrible candidate.
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up and they realize Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president.
We need to have a revolt against the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, and the Nancy Pelosi's.
And the American people understand that the Democratic Party, they exist in their ivory towers that are so far removed from reality. And these ridiculous...
But you're not their father's Republicans. And so our side, I've been trying to get them to realize that Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, all these folks that take the money, they're not on your side. They're on the establishment side, right?
Look at all of these Democrats switching teams. It's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. There's a lot of these people that were trying to drive us off of a cliff all of a sudden, telling us that they told these people so. They told those people so. Jenk Uygur, man, this guy, he, everybody was a fascist. Everybody was a racist. This guy's a horrible choice for president. Talking about Trump, of course. But now, Kamala Harris, she's bad. And so is the entire Democrat Party. Look.
On the Republican side, they've largely been defeated. And so here's what my left-wing friends don't understand. They think you guys are all MAGA, and MAGA means it's a cult, and you're never going to disagree with Trump. You're never going to disagree with each other. And that you are like their father's Republicans. But you're not their father's Republicans. And so our side, I've been trying to get them to realize that Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, all these folks that take the money, they're not on your side. They're on the establishment side, right? And for you guys on the right, when I used to debate you, and I don't mean you guys in specific, I mean in general, all I would get is wall-to-wall talking points. Oh, Mitch McConnell knows what he's doing. Oh, John Cornyn is the best. Oh, George Bush, Dick Cheney, etc. And we've been around forever. We're the longest-running show in internet history, right?
So, he's been telling everybody. He used to debate with people on the right, and he claims that we used to like Mitch McConnell, but we didn't. And when I say we, I mean America First, MAGA, whatever it is that you want to call us. We're not necessarily Republicans over here. I think we're that group of people that wants to put our country first. But if you'd have asked us 5 years ago, we didn't like Mitch McConnell. We never have liked Mitch McConnell. We've never liked Bush or Cheney either. In fact, he's trying to act like he just recently figured it out. But just 3 days ago, he tweeted, "Oh, how come you guys are always complaining about Nancy Pelosi, but you never complain about Mitch McConnell?" This was 3 days ago. Of course, the entire comment section was everybody telling him that he's wrong and that he hasn't paid attention. And he's since deleted that tweet, so whatever. He's gone on PBD as well, talking about, how bad the Democrat Party is and how right he was. And, I think he's trying to act like he's on our side now. Let's look.
On the Republican side, they've largely been defeated.
I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
All right. Yes, I love that. So look, for my left-wing friends that are watching out there, they just booed Mitch McConnell. That's a great thing, okay? And let's do one more. What do you guys think about Dick Cheney? My left-wing friends out there, we have been waiting for the right-wing populists to boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney our whole lives.
Now, both him and Anna Kasparian before the election, less Anna because she started to come around, but like I said, they would have driven us off of a cliff if it were up to them, and Kamala Harris would have been elected. Now, of course, they're speaking the truth. Kind of the purpose of this video is I want to talk about these people who are on the left that are all of a sudden seeing the light. And, we're going to have to watch out for these people in 4 years because they might be talking like they're on our side now, but these same people were for these really radical policies. And so I just want to cast out a warning to anybody who's starting to cozy up to Jenk. He's fair weather as it comes, and he's going to sway on the side of the winning side every time. Let's look at Jenk and Anna even.
Survive another incompetent Democrat leading it.
Leading it. Democrat like Kamala.
No, we just can't. Okay, anyway, so people are egging her on. Okay, apparently she's in a wait and see mode. How about you wait and see your way out of public life and go do what you're supposed to do. Go work in the private sector, go do the lobbying thing, whatever it is, but do not run as governor of California. Yeah. Do not.
So look, here's the thing that they still won't say that is definitely true, which is that she was a disaster. She was a terrible candidate, but it's still to this day with all their little, oh, golly gee, I wish somebody would have told us, right? But they're not saying the core thing, which is she was a talking robot.
Of course, they're talking about Kamala Harris, who is now talking about running for governor of the state of California. Now, I'm from California, and I know that we're known for being, crazy Democrats out here. But most of us, as far as the geography is concerned, are, in fact, either Republican or America First, MAGA, whatever you want to call it. Since we're on the subject, please, Kamala Harris, if you hear this, we don't want you for governor. And the mainstream media might try to tell everybody that California wants Kamala Harris as governor. We don't. I just find it interesting, though, that both Jenk and Anna are talking about how bad Kamala Harris is and, how they tried to tell everybody and they wish that people would have just told them. But they were on that wagon. They were strong supporters of Kamala Harris before everything started turning sideways. Another person I want to look at is Lindy Li. You've probably seen her floating around the media. She's a Democratic finance person. She did a lot of fundraising for the Democrats, but she's making the media rounds now, and even today it sounds like she's really trying to get our attention on this side. Let's see what she has to say.
Where were those voices pre-election day?
Afraid of being canceled, because the cancel culture in the Democratic Party, and I experienced it this week when I said there was a stench of loser hanging over the Democratic Party. You know what they called me? The W word, the C word. I lost tens of thousands of followers because I dared to tell the truth. Because in a cult, you can't tell the truth. You can't ask any questions. But I'm done with that. But he's totally right, and I'm probably going to get canceled again for what I'm about to say. Men are men and women are women. And it's an issue when men are trouncing women in women's sports. This should not be a controversial take. This is common sense. And the American people understand that the Democratic Party, they exist in their ivory towers that are so far removed from reality. And these ridiculous wars are not what Americans care about. We care about bread and butter issues. We care about putting food on the table, sending our kids to school, strong borders, not having millions of people rush through the border. And I'm a naturalized immigrant myself. So this is, and just because you care about these issues doesn't make you sexist or racist.
Mm-hmm. Lindy, you're in.
Now, Lindy Li's talking real bad on the Democrats right now. And, part of that's because she's mad that they spent money wrong. Obviously, you've heard they spent $2.5 million or billion dollars, ended up $20 million in debt. And, of course, she's had to answer to people that donated on her behalf or to her for PACs that she was in charge of. But I like Lindy Li. She's good to look at. She's well-spoken. She's got charisma. But the only reason that she's not still singing the Democrats' praise is because she's kind of getting torched out there by them. And, because she can't speak her mind without them doing what they do, which is cancel everybody if they don't agree with them. But let's remind everybody that just prior to the election and for the last, as long as she's been alive, I imagine, she makes tweets like, Harris will bring down healthcare costs and go after companies for price gouging. She will end greedflation. Trump will give his billionaires even more tax cuts and corporate welfare. This is a no-brainer, folks. I can't wait for prosecutor Kamala Harris to go after convicted felon Trump, for women's defender Harris to go after sexual predator Trump, for champion of the law Harris to go after fraudster Trump. Cheeto Mussolini don't want this smoke. Watch me call him out on Fox News Sunday. So this is Lindy Li. I just don't want people to forget what she was all about in 4 years when she's trying to act like she was the sane one that tried to tell everybody what was going on, because she's not. I mean, she's sane as far as, politics on her side of the party are concerned, but as far as we're concerned, we don't want those policies. America doesn't want those policies. And she's already talked about supporting, Governor Shapiro for a run in 2028. I just I want everybody to be aware that there are going to be people coming out of the woodworks trying to act like they were the normal ones to normalize that party. And we know that Democratic Party as it currently stands is wild. It's wicked. They're demonic people who are way out there on a ledge. They tried to ruin our country this last 4 years. You've probably heard of that Wall Street Journal report where everybody said, oh, Joe Biden hasn't been good since 2021. People close to him are finally coming out and saying something. But they didn't come out and say something when he was running for president again. They were going to be just fine allowing this man to run again and, continue the damage that he's done for the last 4 years. The main reason for this video is Stephen A. Smith, to me, is a good example of how I think the corporate media is going to try to come after this space and try to talk to us like they're the sane ones. I don't know if you know, but prior to this election, Stephen A. Smith was all about Kamala Harris. She repeated all the talking points about Donald Trump, and if it were up to him, she would be president. If it were up to him, Joe Biden would have been president if he was still running. So I want to react to the video that he put out today. This is about his 4th video now post-election where he's trying to talk like he knew what was going on with these Democrats the entire time. So let's run through this and see what's going on.
As I sit here today, taping this particular segment about the world that we're living in, the political landscape that has unfolded before our very eyes over the last few weeks or so, specifically Donald Trump recapturing the presidency of the United States. There's a lot of people out there that are feeling very down and very sad and highly concerned about what the future holds. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not one of those people.
Why are you not one of those people, Stephen A? You went on rant after rant prior to this election talking about the threat to democracy that Donald Trump is going to be, how that he's going to raise tariffs and all of this other stuff that he was going to do to ruin this country. But now that you think there might be some clout to be got, you are the all-time flip-flopper. This man has flip-flopped on everything when it comes to sports. He used to like this person, doesn't like this person. This guy, he is the flip-flopper, the king of flip-flops. So I don't know why. I know why. It's because he wants some clout.
Now, for the record, I didn't vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't vote for him because I thought he was a divisive force. He was somebody that would create a bigger divide rather than galvanize folks and bring folks together. And I was incredibly worried leading up to the election that the race was going to be so tight that either he'd lose and claim he won, as he did in 2020, and create all kinds of chaos.
He did win in 2020. Just saying.
Or he'd win by a narrow margin. And we'd hear folks on the other side, meaning the left, lamenting how maybe it was rigged against them this time around, and all of this other nonsense that would serve to further divide this nation. That hasn't happened. Donald Trump won the presidency convincingly. He did it by capturing more of the black vote, more of the Hispanic vote, sweeping the swing states, winning the popular vote as well as the electoral college vote, and essentially doing so in such convincing fashion that it also left the Republicans holding the House and the Senate come next month in January. In some people's eyes, that's reasons for negativity. I look at it as an opportunity.
Damn right you do. He looks at this as an opportunity. Don't forget, he works for ESPN, which is owned by Disney, which is a very liberal network. He sees this as an opportunity to broaden his horizons financially. It's not a surprise that he's out here trashing the Democrat Party for the last couple of weeks.
An opportunity for the Democratic Party to get their stuff together, and an opportunity for Donald Trump and his administration to live up to promises made and to direct this country in a forward direction without looking back. Let me get to the Democrats first, and I'll get to the Republicans in a second, because I want everybody to know that I don't root against any president, and I'm not going to root against Donald Trump.
You rooted against him when he was running. I implore everybody to go back and look at some videos prior to the election from Stephen A. Smith.
I'm going to root for him to be successful, so long as that success benefits everyone, not just the constituency he may be inclined to cater to. But before I do that, allow me to get into the Democratic Party by simply asking a question. Are you ready to entertain why you lost? Are you ready to stop debating amongst yourselves back and forth?
I will give this to him. He is at least admitting why they lost. He's admitting it loud and proud, I should say.
Did we go too far, whether or not we went far enough? Are you ready to concede that indeed you went too damn far with the identity politics, with woke culture, with cancel culture? Are you ready to concede that? Censorship and deplatforming folks, embracing far left, unpopular policy positions. Are you ready to admit that all of that was wrong? You would need to, because right now you look like a party that's lost. And I know there's a bunch of liberals out there that are raising holy hell, looking at somebody like me and others saying we don't know what the hell we're talking about. You know what we do know? You lost. You know what we do know? You lost convincingly. You know what we do know? That you are now disempowered. You've been rendered practically impotent. So much so that in a time of progressiveness, where you got somebody like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, competing with Nancy Pelosi, the 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi, who recently had hip surgery. When competing against her, she still beat AOC. Because somewhere along the way, somebody said, you know what? We don't need to move further left. We need to listen to the audience out there, the constituency out there that's saying, center, be a centrist, or at least left of center, don't go to the fringes.
But isn't that kind of scary, though? That they know in order to win that they have to not be so far left. That's kind of what happened with Joe Biden in 2020, if you think about it, or in 2019 when he was running. He ran as a centrist. He was going to, be back in the middle. He's going to, bring the adults back into the room. But what happened after he got elected, everything went so far left. So far left. Ridiculous stuff. Title IX being changed so that men could play along with girls in school. The immigration situation. Everything's offensive. Freedom of speech was damn near completely taken away. So this is my worry. These people are going to come off as sane and central. They're going to do this for 4 years so that you forget how crazy that side of the aisle is. And then when it comes to election time next year, or in 4 years, they're not going to show how far left they are because they know that it's not a winning situation. But once they get into the White House again, if they do, the same thing's gonna happen. So AOC is still gonna be in that party. She's not getting voted out. Her fans like her too much. You think people like Elizabeth Warren are going anywhere? Bernie Sanders? And Bernie Sanders is pretty centrist, but I mean, he's got some crazy ideas. So I just don't want everybody to look at this and start thinking that these people are normal and centered, because they had that chance in 2019. 2020 through this year, they have completely ruined that. So let's continue listening. Just there's going to be a lot of these people coming out trying to tell us that they're normal, trying to convince us that they're normal. We can't let this happen again. We need to speak loud about this.
If you're the Democratic Party, are you willing to accept that? Are you willing to accept that inflation happened on your watch? On Trump's too, to some degree, but certainly yours. Are you willing to accept that the crime in the streets was uncomfortable to see, that the homelessness in the streets was uncomfortable to witness? Are you willing to concede that you can't be all things for everybody? That in any society, particularly a capitalistic one, that everyone doesn't get to enjoy the same fruits of one's labor? Are you willing to concede that, Democratic Party? Especially if you're somebody like Gavin Newsom in California. Because when you look at the high taxes, the price of food and gas, the money that comes out of your paycheck, the open borders, the homelessness, the crime in the streets with people getting out the same day they got arrested. When you see all of that, do you understand now how uncomfortable that is?
I'm from California. The state is becoming an abject failure. It's a unmitigated disaster here. The homelessness, the minimum wage that went up for fast food workers, that actually caused a ton of problems. Liberal studies will show otherwise, but I'm on the ground here. I know there are less people working now. There's way more automation in those stores. The prices have gone completely sky high, and the food's not as good. There are so many people on the streets in this state. It is so expensive to live here. So I was maybe more scared than the average person to think that we might have had a Kamala Harris presidency, because I've been around long enough to where I witnessed how she was in this state when she had some leadership roles here. And I was worried when Joe Biden was getting pushed out, because I was afraid that Gavin Newsom was going to somehow be the candidate. And that might actually be worse.
Do you realize that people want to be safe and they want to earn an honest living? If you're the left, do you understand that that's what people want to hear in the year 2025? They don't want to hear about an insurrection from 2021. They don't want to hear about election denials. They don't want to hear about that. That's not what they care about anymore. It's not that they don't believe it didn't exist or anything like that. It's that it's the past. It's over. Now you got to get with the program. And if you're Donald Trump and you're the Republican Party, do you now realize the lofty position that you're in? Let's understand, ladies and gentlemen, that at this particular moment in history, the Republicans have an opportunity to own the political landscape for years to come. J.D. Vance is young. He ain't 78 years old like Donald Trump, going on 79. Marco Rubio, your Secretary of State to be, he ain't old. If you're Donald Trump, do you understand what times you have before you? You understand it was a mistake to even come to Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General, right? You understand that with Pete Hegseth for Fox News. I'm not getting into his personal affairs and what he may have been guilty of or what he proclaims to be innocent of. I'm getting into a dude hosting a show on Fox News.
Well, that's your problem, Stephen A. What is the problem with Pete Hegseth? Guy's a decorated soldier. He's led people. He's highly respected in the military community. So these two things can be true at once. He can be a good leader for soldiers, for the military, while having been a good news personality. Those two things don't conflict with each other. In fact, it would probably be good to have somebody that's good with the media in that position, because we're all tired of getting lied to by the military industrial complex, by people in charge of that whole area of government. We're tired of being lied to by the entire government. So, Matt Gaetz, he probably would have done a really good job. He had an investigation against him, and who knows why that investigation was against him. They brought all kinds of stuff against Trump he was not guilty of. So the fact that he had an investigation against him, that being the thing that derailed his chances of being the AG, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And I mean, I'm glad Pam Bondi is in there. I think she's going to do a great job. But the fact that he got ran out because of those allegations is ridiculous. And that is part of the problem on that side of the aisle.
For the weekends. And suddenly he's going to be in charge of 3 million people with the Department of Defense.
Yes.
I'm saying, hold on. This is an opportunity, Republicans. This is an opportunity, Donald Trump. You've never been in a position in my lifetime where you had so many different communities willing to embrace you and feel like you might embrace what their beliefs are, what they feel, what they think is in the best interest of this country. You might not want to talk about Project 2025.
Yeah, Project 2025 was hilarious because he disavowed that thing a million times while he was running, and they just kept bringing it up. But I don't know if you've taken a chance to read Project 2025 or looked into it. It's not that bad. In fact, there are a lot of really strong points in that I wouldn't mind seeing this country go to.
You might not want to be fixated on being a pro-lifer. It ain't necessary anymore. Yes, Roe v. Wade has been overturned. You got a 6-3 conservative majority in the courts, the Supreme Court. You got all of that going on. But I'm looking at some other things. I'm looking at a GOP, how it's become a big tent party, how it's picked up prospects that were Democrats, alienated Democrats, like Musk, like RFK Jr., like Tulsi Gabbard, like Joe Rogan. I'm thinking about your message. How the Republican Party wants less of your money. How they want to spend less on government. How they want to cut waste. Are you going to be consistent with that message, Donald Trump?
So this video came out today, but just in the last week, we've had 2 continuing resolutions shot down because Donald Trump listened to the people, not just on X, but people calling congressional offices saying that they had a problem with all of the fat that was in those bills. There were ridiculous things in those bills. There were funding to continue the censorship state. You would have to take a look at it. I'll do a video on it. There was a ton of ridiculous funding. And so the first bill was 1,500 pages. It was given to the House 2 days before it needed to be voted on. There was no way they were going to be able to read it all. Elon Musk and Vivek went through and read it all, or they probably had people do it. But they went through and they checked it out and they said, this is ridiculous. So they started posting all of this stuff on X about what was in this bill. And then representatives started seeing what it was and they thought, man, this is not good. And then their offices started getting called by constituents, people that they represent, who were, showing their anger with what was about to be passed and what we were going to be spending our money, or what they were going to be spending our money on. So Donald Trump then stepped up and also criticized the bill. And so what happened was that we got rid of a bunch of fat and we ended up passing a much smaller resolution because he's listening to the people.
Are you going to be consistent with that message, J.D. Vance? Are we going to focus on what actually won you this election?
They're not the ones that have been lying. The Democrats have been lying the last 4 years out of the side of their neck.
I'm thinking about a Trump administration right now that's fairly popular with both parties, according to recent polling showing how Americans are on board with a lot of, you know, the stuff that he's doing in his transition prep. They're even on board with things like deportations. Now, they may not want mass deportations of just anybody, but do they want the criminals out of this country? Sure. Do they want...
Eric Adams out of New York is looking forward to helping with the deportations. He talked with Tom Homan last week. That's looking promising. But you've got mayors like Pritzker and mayors like Brandon Johnson, or mayors like Brandon Johnson out of Chicago that don't want to help with this at all. And you've got the mayor of Denver who's talking about, you know, marching with the people to keep ICE from coming in and deporting people that need to go. So,
but the borders closed since over 12.5 million people were let into this country illegally? Sure they do. Are you going to be consistent with that, Donald Trump, or are you going to go overboard? I'm reading some notes here about the 119th Congress and how so much hinges on them. I'm thinking about the Trump and the GOP campaign message and how it was less about speaking directly to voter blocs and more about proposing common sense ideas that are good for all instead of just the people who vote for them. Do you recognize the moment that you have? If you're the Republicans, you have never been in a better position over the last 50 years.
The problem is the whole point of voting someone in is you're voting on their policies. There's no way that he's going to be able to make everybody happy. And the reason is because there's a large percent of our country, not the majority obviously, that wants to do stuff that most of the country feels is not good for them. So yeah, he has the opportunity to maybe be a uniter, but he by no means needs to cater to part of the country that is not going to help.
When I've given speeches and people would ask me about my vote, I would say I'm an independent, even though I mostly vote Democrat. But I would always say independent. Why? Because I want you to flatter me. Because I want you to know I'm open-minded to receive the flattering if you're willing to give it. I just never saw the Republican Party willing to give me that.
He doesn't need to cater to you. Your views aren't the ones that won. He needs to cater to the people that are the majority. I have a dog barking. It's amazing. Amazing.
Like I saw this go round. But when Donald Trump comes along and he says, what do you have to lose? And it forces you to look at the Democratic Party, you got to pay attention. When he talks about less government spending.
This is running long anyway. I got a yappy dog. I had my mom living with me a little while ago, and then she ended up having a fall and had to go to the hospital, and now she's living with my sister. But she left her cute little dog behind. Little white thing. Barks all the time. Anyway, I wanted to thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, probably didn't. This is I'm still stumbling a little bit, but this is now my second video, and I'm no longer a virgin, but I'm still inexperienced. Thanks for sticking with me. Like and subscribe if you get a chance. I would really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.